At his absolute peak, there was no running back on the planet you'd rather have than Nick Chubb. Smooth, powerful, relentless. But one violent hit in Week 2 of 2023 changed everything, and now his career is officially over. Stick around because this is a story about greatness cut short and a lot of questions that will never get answered. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're paying tribute to former Cleveland Browns and Houston Texans running back Nick Chubb, who announced his retirement from the NFL on Friday night. Let's break down a career that was equal parts brilliance and heartbreak. Nick Chubb, at just 30 years old, walks away from the game as one of the great what-if players of the modern NFL era, and certainly one of the biggest what-ifs in Cleveland Browns history. Let's talk about how genuinely dominant this man was when healthy. There's a real, strong argument to be made that between the 2019 and 2022 seasons, Nick Chubb was simply the best running back in the entire NFL. Full stop. During that stretch, he was an automatic lock for over 1,200 rushing yards every single season. He consistently averaged over 5 yards per carry, a number that's almost unheard of for a workhorse back carrying that kind of volume. He was smooth, powerful, and as dominant as any running back in the league. And here's the thing that made Chubb so special to Browns fans specifically. It didn't matter how good or bad the team around him was in any given season. Win or lose, you knew Chubb was going to be a difference maker on nearly every single carry. That kind of reliability is rare in this league. But then everything changed early in the 2023 season. A devastating knee injury in Week 2 ended his year entirely, and looking back now, it's clear that moment marked the beginning of the end for his career. Injuries like that don't just cost you a season, they change the entire trajectory of a player's remaining prime years. Chubb did eventually make his way back onto the field late in the 2024 season, but he was never quite the same explosive back Browns fans had grown accustomed to watching. From that return through the rest of his career, he appeared in just 22 total games, rushing for only 838 yards across that entire span. Those are numbers that would have represented a single strong month for peak Chubb, not a year and a half of football. He then spent his final season, 2025, with the Houston Texans, rushing for 506 yards and scoring 3 touchdowns. A respectable contribution, but nowhere near the dominant force he once was in Cleveland. So here's the question that's going to follow Nick Chubb for the rest of his life. Was he robbed of a legitimate Hall of Fame career? Given how good he was at his absolute peak, and how many prime years were stolen from him by that knee injury, it's an entirely fair question to ask. Let's look at the final numbers. Chubb finishes his career with 7,349 rushing yards across 8 seasons. And remember, that total includes 3 seasons that were essentially wiped out by injury. If you do the math on what his prime production looked like, just 2 or 3 more healthy 1,400-yard seasons, numbers he was fully capable of producing before the injury, would have easily pushed him past 10,000 career rushing yards. That's the kind of milestone that puts a running back squarely into Hall of Fame conversation territory. Instead, Nick Chubb's legacy is left with a long list of what-if questions. What if that Week 2 hit in 2023 never happened? What if he'd gotten 3 more prime seasons instead of 3 lost ones? What if the injury bug had simply passed him by like it does for some backs? We'll never know the answers to those questions. What we do know is that for a stretch of years, Nick Chubb was genuinely one of the best players at his position in the entire NFL. And he remains one of the most beloved and respected players to wear a Browns uniform since the franchise returned in 1999. So how do you remember Nick Chubb's career? As a Hall of Fame talent who got unlucky, or simply as one of the most enjoyable running backs to watch during his prime? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this tribute, smash that like button, subscribe for more NFL retirement and legacy coverage, and I'll see you in the next video.